What is up, everybody? Drake here with DSF Financial, showing you guys the ATM industry and how to get your money working for you through passive income. We did an ATM swap the other day, figured we'd bring you guys along for the ride, show you guys a thing or two. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment below and make sure to leave a like. If you want to have a successful business, you have to make sure to try and make everybody happy. The owners happy of the establishment, the customers, and of course yourself as the business owner. With one of our locations, the owner of the bar wanted the ATM moved from one location to another. The location that the ATM was originally installed in, that we installed it in, it was closer to the back exit and the bar, which made sense because we wanted people using it. But the club is getting a lot more busy now. So as people are using the ATM by the bar, it's causing a little bit of a backup. So he gave us a call, the owner did, and asked if we can get it moved from one location to another, which obviously we didn't have a problem with. The first step in this process, obviously, is uninstalling the ATM. First thing we gotta do is unbolt the ATM, which is fairly easy. We need to lift the ATM off of the anchors, move the ATM, then find a new location, make sure it has connectivity, make sure it has power, make sure it's secure and accessible, and then reinstalling the ATM. A funny thing that happened is we realized when uninstalling the ATM, we only secured 2 out of the 4 anchor bolts. Thinking back, we actually ran into an issue when we first were installing it. It was rebar that we were hitting. I was afraid I was gonna tear through a pipe of some sort, gas line, something like that. So you don't want to push it, especially if the drill bit isn't going through easily like it should be. So we ended up only bolting in 2 of the bolts, which is enough. It was just kind of comical when we realized it. The next step is lifting the ATM off of the anchors. So we have 5-inch anchors in this ATM, which actually is a little excessive, which we learned. But what we did is we took a dolly and took the dolly as far up to the ATM as we could and kind of lifted it up, even though it was still on the 2 anchor bolts. And then I helped push it up on the other side. We twisted the ATM to where it was completely sitting on top of the bolts, and then we were able to slide the ATM off. It was actually pretty easy once we got the hang of it, and hopefully we won't have any more issues like that again since we learned from this. The next step in this process is cutting the bolts. We used the rotary type cutter to cut off these 5-inch bolts. It did take a little while to do it. You gotta go slowly but surely using the metal cutter blades, but it works a lot easier than you'd think. You just have to take your time with it. It is a little bit of labor intensive as well. If we were to hire somebody, it would probably be in the $500, $600, $700 range to get the ATM transferred from one location to another and then reinstalled. So knowing us, knowing we like to save money the most ways that we can, we decided to do it ourselves and learn from it.
Your shoes, baby.
One down, one to go. Let's get it. After you have the bolts cut, you have to fill in the bolt holes just to make sure there's nobody can trip on the old holes. The next step is finding a location to put the ATM. There's a couple things to keep in mind. You need a power source, obviously. You need some sort of connectivity if you're going to be using the Ethernet. You have to make sure it's convenient for the location, as well as convenient for you when you're filling the ATM, doing maintenance on it, things like that. We ended up finding a great location for it in between the bar and the restrooms. This allowed us to get more foot traffic, obviously, passing by the ATM and allowing it to be more noticeable. Before, it was in a corner and a dark area. If a couple people were standing around the ATM, nobody would be able to see it. So we found a location to where it was a little bit more difficult for people to just stand. And also you get the foot traffic for people looking to go to the bar as well as heading on the way to the restroom. Since we did find a location in between the bar as well as the restrooms, something did make me question the location, only because with restrooms and bars, there's obviously going to be a water source somewhere and a drainage line. So I wanted to make sure that we weren't going to hit that as we were drilling into the concrete. The last thing I want, obviously, is to hit a water main or a gas line, something like that, while I'm doing the drilling. Just something to keep in mind when you're doing an ATM install. Make sure you're not going to hit anything. As we were drilling, of course, things happen, and we hit some rebar. What we did is we just slightly moved the ATM 1/4 of an inch over, which was okay, and we drilled again. This allowed us to add all of the anchor bolts into the ATM as opposed to skipping 2 or 3 of them. Obviously, we want the strongest secure hold on the ATM. Similar to what we did when we took off the ATM, we now have to put the ATM on top of the anchor bolts. What we did again was we lifted up the ATM slightly with the dolly, and then I helped push it up onto the anchor bolts. We slid it to where all 4 holes for the anchor bolts were attached, and then slid it right on top. Bolted down the ATM, connected everything, good to go, kind of. What we had to do is make sure our wiring was all clean. We had to run an extension cord from the back of the ATM into the ATM, up the wall, all the way around, and then back down to the outlet. We tacked that down with wire tacks just to make sure it was a lot cleaner look, a better presentation, and I think it made the bar owner happy as well. After we connected the power cord, tacked everything down, the next step was testing it. We wanted to make sure everything was working properly. We had internet connection, power wasn't an issue, the machine was working properly. So we went through all those steps, and what do you know? Yahtzee! It's all taken care of. We make sure to clean up after ourselves, obviously. We don't want to leave a mess when we're done with the job, and we want to make sure to leave it cleaner than how we got there, which is what we did. We bring a little shop vac with us during the installs, which helps obviously with all of the concrete dust, any water that might be on the floor. Because it is a bar, they're cleaning the floors and whatnot. So we bring a shop vac with us, which does help with the cleaning process. We loaded up the truck and then on the road. All right, so we just finished up with that reinstall at the. Now we're enjoying a couple well-deserved beers. We even pulled out a 20 from the ATM we just installed because we didn't have any cash. Go figure. DSF Financial is looking for investors right now to help grow with us. So please reach out to us if you have any questions or are interested in investing. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you guys on the next video. Later.